Hey, good morning and welcome to Daf Yomi Megillah Daf Chavav, the beginning of a new parak, the fourth parak and the last parak of Maseches Megillah. Of course, we have a great year for you today, the best, the finest, the year 2022 kicking off the right way. Um, last one question for today, which I want to talk about. This is the question, a practical question. Are you allowed to throw your sittis in the garbage, or do you have to put them in Geniza? Do you really know the answer to this question? We're going to find out. All right. The bottom of Chav Hey Amud Beis. Bnei Ayir Shemachru Rechova Shalir. The second two lines from the bottom. Bnei Ayir Shemachru Rechova Shalir Lochen Medam of Beis HaKnesses. People of the city. We're going to learn about the kedusha of certain parts of the shul. They sold the town square in front of the shul, where they davened outside. If they did sell that, they have to use the money to buy a shul. You can't buy something of lesser kedusha because it's a concept of malim kedusha of no moridin. You have to go up in kedusha and not go down. Beis HaKnesses, they put sold a shul, loken teva. You have to buy with the proceeds. You have to buy teva, an ark to store the Torah. Teva loken matpachos. If you sold the ark, you have to buy the coverings for the Sefer Torah matpachos. If they sold matpachos, yichus svarim, you have to buy svarim, chumashim, let's say. You have to buy chumashim. Um, svarim loken Torah. If you sold svarim, chumashim, loken Torah, you have to buy a Sefer Torah. Val imachru Torah. Torah is obviously the highest kedusha, Sefer Torah. Val machru Torah, lo yichus svarim. If they sold a Torah, you can't buy chumashim. Svarim lo yichud. Pachos, if you sold chumashim, you can't buy coverings of a Sefer Torah. Pachos lo yichud. Teva, so coverings, you can't buy a teva. Teva lo yichud beis haknesses. If you sold a teva, an ark, you can't buy the lerer kedusha of a shul. Beis haknesses lo yichud es harachov. If you sold a shul, you can't use the money to buy a town square. So you can have the outdoor prayers on the tiny osumamados v'chen memos rosein. And also this applies to the extra money. If you sold one of these things, you have extra money left over, again, you can't use it for something of lesser kedusha. Gemara says, "Bnei Ayir shemachru rechova shalir." People of the city that sold from town square. Amar Rabbi Bachan, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Zuzi V'Rei Menachem Bar Yossi Stumasa. The words of our Mishnah reflect the opinion of Rabbi Menachem Bar Yossi, who a lot of times is anonymous in the Mishnah, and our Mishnah is also anonymous. The Chum say that town square, you sell it, you can use the money for whatever you want. There's no kedusha in the town square. Menachem Bar Yossi, my time. What's his reasoning that it does have kedusha? On tiniest, we learn inside of tiniest. After the last 7 fasts, when there wasn't rain, they would go out to the Rechova Shalir, they would go to the street in front of the shul, and they would daven. Also, Mamodos would also do this in the town square. So it had a little bit of kedusha. Rabbanan it was an informal Beis HaKnesses. Rabbanan, what do they opine? How do they argue? Counter this argument. Hu akrai ba'alma. Those uses were merely temporary uses. They didn't happen very often. Therefore, it doesn't ascribe kedusha to the Rechova Shalir. Beis HaKnesses lochen teva. If they sold a shul, you can buy an ark. Amar, only an ark. Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Yochanan lo shana lebeis hakneses shel kvarim. This is only a kedusha, a shul in the villages, in the suburban areas. So lebeis hakneses shel krachim, a shul in the big city, a shul in Manhattan, let's say. Kevan de ma'alma asule lo matzu mezavni le. Since people come from all over, so therefore it really in a certain sense, it belongs to everybody. They can't sell it. The Havali the Rabbin belongs to everybody. And the understanding being that the donations were given from all over the place for the shul, because a lot of people attend it even though they're not from that city. They work in Manhattan, they daven at Chabad, 44th Street or something like that, or the Garment. There are a lot of minyanim over there in Midtown. So, you can't sell. Avli Rabbin. Ravashi, High Bake Nishta, the Masa Mechese. Ravashi says, but the Shul Masa Mechese was also a big city. Afagav the Ma'alma Asula, even though a lot of people come to it, came in that Daita Didika also, since they're coming to learn under me in my yeshiva, my shul, I'm the big rabbi over there, I'm the Mara da Asra. I personally could sell it because even though they're giving donations to the shul, they're giving it to me. They want me to make the decisions. That's what happens in Torah cities. You listen to Das Torah. In Manhattan, I don't think they listen to Das Torah. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, there was an incident of a shul made by coppersmiths. That was in Yerushalayim. They actually sold to Lezer. He was allowed to do whatever he wanted. It was a good sale. The Hasam, the Kracham Hava. There, it was a big city where in Yerushalayim is a big city. The Maran said he beknisha zuti Hava. It was a small shul. They even personally made it. The funds for the basic guesses personally came from these coppersmiths themselves. They had a breakaway minion of coppersmiths, so therefore they own the shul. They could do whatever they want with it. Macy asked a question from a brisa. It says by Nagoyim, a house could also get tsaras. You have to destroy the house eventually if it has tsaras for a long enough time. It only applies in Yerachuz and Eretz Yisrael. Only if you own the land, it can get Nagoyim. And Yerushalayim, but if you own a house in Yerushalayim, it doesn't. It can never get. It can never get saras. It can never get saras. And Yerushalayim is having been a gam. Because we're going to see Yerushalayim. There's two opinions about this: whether Yerushalayim was an achuzah, was it a portion to the shvatim, or was it just area that belonged to all of Klal Yisrael? He says, really, Yerushalayim he holds is nischak al shvatim. The only place Beis Hamikdash that belonged to everybody. So therefore, the Beis Hamikdash that can't get saras. How about the Gemara first? How about the Knesius bat midrashos? But shuls and Beis Medrashes mitamen they could get saras. Amai had to kraken havu. They belong to the city, to Yerushalayim. They belong to the city. People come from all over to Yerushalayim. So therefore, you see that there is private ownership of, even though it's owned by everybody. You see that it can be sold. You see that they really don't. They don't have people that come from all over. Don't make it. It's not like theirs. It really becomes like Rabbi Yehuda holds in Skakal Shvatim. It has private ownership, so it should be ultimately sold. The Maran says, "Ema Amar Rabbi Yehuda ani lo shemati al makom mekudash." But I didn't say makom mikdash, mekudash, including shuls and batei midrashos. So also those like Rabbi Yehuda holds in Yerushalayim Skakal Shvatim, and except for the shuls which belong to everybody. So even Rabbi Yehuda wouldn't argue on what we just said before. It might come if like what's the machlokes Tanakam and Rabbi Yehuda. Tanakam is Rabbi Niskach Yerushalayim Shvatim. He holds Yerushalayim was never a portion to the Shvatim. It belongs to everybody. Yehuda Sarvan Niskach Yerushalayim Shvatim. It could be called an achuzah. It is given to the Shvatim. We'll see who owns it, which Shvatim owns it. Plug to the Hani tonight. Their machlokes is the same machlokes as the following machlokes. The Sanya Maya B'chalko Shal Yehuda. What was in the Chelek? This brisa holds that it wasn't Chakal Shvatim. What was in the Chelek of Yehuda? Harabayis Alishkas V'Azaros. Yehuda, the Shevet Yehuda owned the Harabayis, the Temple Mount, the Lishkos, the chambers around the base of Megillah, Azaros, the courtyard, the Ezra's Yisrael, the Ezra's Kohanim, the Ezra's Nash. Maya B'chalko Shem and Yamin. And Yamin owned also part of it. Ulam B'Heichal Bas Kodesh Kodesh. He owned the really holy stuff, the antechamber and the Heichal, the Kodesh, and the Kodesh HaKodesh. There was a piece of land right outside the antechamber, right where the Mizbeach was. Ma Bab Mizbeach Banoi. It sounds like it actually belonged maybe to both of them. It belonged to both Binyamin and it belonged to Yehuda, but Binyamin already had so much Kedusha. He had the Ulam and the Heichal and the Kodesh HaKodesh. He wanted to have the Mizbeach HaChitzon, Mizbeach Hadam, also in his Chelek. Labola, he wanted to have it. Never Chofi V'Alav Kol Yom. It says, I think this is by in Dvarim, the end of Dvarim, Zos HaBracha. Chofi Kol Alav Kol Yom. Meksivav Shechein. Lefichach, he was worried about it. He wanted to have more Kedusha. Lefichach Zacha Binyamin Aseh Ushpizich and the Shechina. And because he was so worried about it, so therefore he actually ended up getting that the Mizbeach Hadam wasn't in his portion. So you see, anyway, according to this first opinion, that it was Niskakal Shvatim. Like according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Haitana and the Rabbanan hold Savar Lo Niskakal Shvatim, which is that price. So the Tanya Emaskirin Batim Yishalayim. You can't rent that house in Yerushalayim, even if you technically own Yerushalayim. You own that new project. What is that called? Jerusalem Estates, um, near Malchi Yisrael, Jerusalem Estates. You own that. You don't really own it. You can't rent it out if you're away for Pesach or your Sukkot. You can't rent it out to somebody else. And Shalahem doesn't really belong to you. Shalayim wasn't given to people. Those are Omer Aflo Mitos. You can't even rent out the beds. The beds also are part of the karka. Lefichach Oros Kodshem Baliush Bezichin Otin. Therefore, if someone comes and stays in your house, you can't take rent for them, but you could take, if you forcibly want to take the skins from the animals. So then you could take it from the animals that they put as a korban. You get the skins. The owners get the skins. It's good manners when you leave, when you go to someone's house. Someone has you as an oreach, as a guest. You should leave your whatever leftover jars of water and skins bush for the host. What we said in the Mishnah, that once you sell a shul, you sell things of kedusha, you can't use it for lesser kedusha. That's only when it was sold by an individual. But if it was sold by the trustees of the city, I mean the board of the city, the rich people in the city, in front of everybody, right, or most of the city, you could even sell it. You could even use the money, top of Chavav Beis, Lemishte Beishichra, to use the proceeds to buy beer to drink. Shapir Dami. Ravina Havalei Ahud Tila, the Beit Kiddush. Ravina had a certain mound where there was a shul. Also, the Mizra. The mound had the ruins of an old Beis Haknes, so it wasn't really being used anymore. He said, well, "Can I plant it? It was very ruined. There was a lot of grass over there. Can I plant it? I want to plant vegetables, fruits, or make flowers." I'm like, Zil Zabne, Mishivat Tavair. I said, go buy the synagogue from the 7 trustees of the city, in front of everybody. It was Zara. And then it loses Kedusha. You can plant it. Rami or Abba Hava Kabani Be Knishta. He was building a shul. Hava Hi Be Knishta Asika. Have a boil a mystery. What was he doing? It was an old shul. He wanted to knock down the old shul. He lived and take the bricks and the beams from the old shul and make it into a new shul. I guess add on and make it a newer, nicer shul. Yosef Kami Boyle. He was sitting and trying to figure out the shaila. What was he bothered about? Rav Chisda says, Namar Rav Chisda, he said, a town can't destroy a shul until they already built a new shul. So Hasa Mishum Pshiusa, there the reason being is because they're poshea, because if they just destroy the old shul, maybe they'll just be poshea, they'll be lazy, or they'll run out of funds and they won't build a new shul, and they'll end up a town with no shul. But here, where I'm destroying the old shul and I'm using whatever's in the old shul to make the new shul, there's no pshia. Like Kamed Rav Huna v'Ashlei, came from Rav Papa and Rav Huna. They both asked him. They said it's aser because I guess there's still pshia. He wanted to add on, make it nicer, refurbish it. So therefore, he maybe wouldn't finish the shul if he didn't build it first. Amarava Hai Beknishda Chalufa Vizmuna Shari. When we said that you can sell it in front of Shiva Tovei, it's not just selling it. If you exchange the shul for something else, or you sell it. Shari, that's mutter, to use it for whatever you want. Ogru mashkuna, but if you rent it out or you mortgage it, aser, then it's aser. It's aser to use the proceeds for something else. My time, to shasakai, when you rent it out, it doesn't really go to the other person. You mortgage it out. It still retains kedusha, and you can't use the proceeds for anything you want. Livni nami chulufayu vizvinayu shari. Also, the bricks of a shul, if you exchange them or you sell them, it's okay. Uzfinhu, you lend them out to someone else. Hani mili be'atiksa, aval bachata le'sanba. That's only talking about that was already an old shul. It was used for a shul. But if you have bricks that are waiting to be used for building a shul, but they haven't been used in a shul yet, there's no problem. Vilaman Amrazman and Milse, it's machlokas elsewhere, and Mar Sanhedrin and other places. Whether if you prepare something for a mitzvah, for a kedusha, does it take on the kedusha before you actually use it for Hani Mili? The one who says that it is significant, Hazmana preparing it, Hani Mili can go to Orig Begel Lameis. That's only where you wove tachrich and you already wrote cloth to bury a dead person. Here, it's not readily available to be used. It's not like it was already woven. It's more like the thread is just spun, but you didn't use the threads to make already a baguette. So therefore, it's not even hazman. It's two steps away from hazman. But lekel mandamar, no one says it's a problem. Matana. Let's say you want the Sheva Tuve year, the board of the city. They want to give the shul away as a present. Does it lose its kedusha? Pliba Ravacha Ravina the money. Charas, the shul. I mean, the money loses the kedusha, and the shul also loses the kedusha that you can do whatever you want with it. Pliba Ravacha Ravina. Chad Asar v'Chad Shari. One allowed it. One said it's not allowed. Mada Asar b'Haitif kedusha. He says, how did it lose its kedusha? It wasn't exchanged for anything. One the Shari, the one that says it's mutter. Ilav the Havale Hanamine lo Hava Yahi lay. When you give a present to someone, usually it's quid pro quo. Usually it's a favor for a favor. If I'm giving you a matana, it must have made you did something for me. So therefore it is an exchange, and therefore the kedusha goes out through that. Tana Rabbanan. Lo hava yav lehadar hava le matana kazvini, and therefore the present is like a sale. Tana Rabbanan. Here's the answer to our question. Tashmishay mitzvah nizrakin. Things that are used for a mitzvah. Nizrakin. What does nizrakin mean? Let's see what Rashi says. Rashi says nizrakin. Where are we? Tashmish mitzvah. Is there a Rashi on this? Doesn't say anything about it. Tashmish mitzvah. Nizrakin. You can throw them out. Tashmish kedusha nignazin. Tashmish kedusha have to be put in geniza. They have to put in storage to bury them in a place of Elohim tashmish mitzvah. What's considered to be a tashmish mitzvah? Something used for a mitzvah. Sukkah, the schach for a sukkah, lulav, the actual lulav used, shofar tzitzis, talking about the baguette and the strings of the tzitzis. Really, the mitzvah tzitzis is the strings. So therefore, you see very clearly over here that if you want to throw out a pair of tzitzis, or you want to throw out your lulav after, you don't have to wait until Pesach to burn your lulav in the fire. You can throw it out, and you can throw out old tzitzis also. You do not have to put tzitzis in geniza. I know in the shul, modern Orthodox shul, Yom Israel, West Hempstead, my parents live, they had a geniza box, and it specifically said, do not put your tzitzis in the geniza box. But different places, different cultures. Here, I think it's pretty much universally accepted among Haredi culture that you do put tzitzis in geniza. Where does this come from? Now, I did see the art scroll. They talk about this. The art scroll says, according number 15, footnote number 15. According to some authorities, we may throw them to the garbage or Rechaim. However, Ramah writes that we will not discard them in a degrading place. See there, even the Ramah doesn't say a degrading place. The Ramah says you can't go mavaza them, you can't go step on them and things like that. Presumably, if you put them in a bag, if you put your scissors in a bag and throw in the garbage, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Or you threw in a separate garbage bag and threw in the garbage. There's nothing mavaza. You're not mavaza. The tzitzis, it's pretty clear over here. You let it throw out tzitzis, and you let it throw out your yarmulkes, and there's no problem with these things. There's no kedusha, tashmish mitzvah. Again, I said something I shouldn't have said. What's going to happen to me? Chayrim. What about me a chayrim? All right. Tashmisha kedusha, however, things which are used for kedusha. Kedusha means that it was written with the yo on a shuris on a cloth. Things used for a sefer Torah. Tashmisha kedusha, dluskami, a bag used to store sefer Torah, svarim, chumashim, tefillin, mezuzos, with tikshal, sefer Torah, and the actual covering of sefer Torah, and the artik shal, tefillin, in the bag where you put your tefillin, and retzusein, and the retzuos, the straps of the tefillin. Those are tashmisha kedusha. You have to put them, and you have to bury them. Amarava, Reish Hamamina. Originally, I said Hai Kursaya Tashmish the Shashmishu. I said the Kursaya, the bima that you put the sefer Torah on to read, it's a tashmish of a tashmish, which is mutter, meaning it's something which services that which services the Torah, because normally you put a covering on the bima, and the sefer Torah is placed on the covering, and the covering itself is placed on the bima. Kevin the chazina the mosve aleh Sefer Torah. Sometimes they don't have the covering. They put the Sefer Torah directly on the bima. Amina tashmish kedusha. Therefore, that's did of tashmish kedusha. But aser, you have to bury it. Amar Rav and Reish Hava Amina. I prisa tashmish to tashmish hava. I would thought also the curtain in front of the ark, where you used to cover the ark, to be as a curtain for the Sefer Torah. Um, I thought it was Tashma the Tashma Shul. Keva and the Chazina, because it services the ark which services the Torah. Keva and the Chazina, the Eifele and Manchi Sifra, sometimes they actually fold it on the bottom and they put the Sefer Torah directly on the curtain. Amina Tashma Kedusha, therefore it also has Zin of Tashma Kedusha and you have to bury it. Also, Amarava, Hai Tevusa the Irpet, Me'evda Teva Zutrasi Shari. Let's say you have a Teva, an ark, which became ruined. To make a small ark is mutter. Kursaya, to make it into a bima, lesser kedusha, that's also. Amarava, high prisa, the bala, again, the curtain for the aron that became worn, tattered. Let me have the prisa, lasifri shari, to make it a covering for svarim, for chumashim, it's mutter. The svarim means like the Nevi'im and Ksuvim that are written on cloth of Dio Shuris. The Chumash and Asir, but Chumash and the ones that are printed. Until now, whenever we say Sfari, we mean things that are written on cloth. Chumashim are the ones that are printed, with the printing press. Asir. Amarava Hani mi Zvili de Chumshe Kamachi de Sifri Tashmish Glushinenu Vinignazin. They used to have sacks. They put the Chumash in, and Kamachi the Sfari. Again, they use sacks to store the Sifrei Torah in when they want to transport them. Tashmish Glushin and Vinignazin. They have din Tashmish Glusha, and you have to put them in Geniza, Pshita, obviously. The same Hani Lav Lechavod Avid. They're not made to honor the Sifarim, honor the Chumash. And Turi Ba'am Avid, they're just meant to store them, to safeguard them, that people shouldn't see them and take them. Kamashma, no, it's still considered a kavod for them, and therefore you can't, they're considered Tashmish Kedush. No big Knishta, Yudai Romai, I have a pasuk Lahu Idrona. There was a certain shul, Roman Jews from Rome, that part of the shul opened up into in Drona, to another room. The Havamakis Bay Mace. There was an entrance. There was a hallway going from the shul to a morgue. I guess there was a dead person. I have a boy, kind of the male. It's Liyas. Some kind of wanted to come to the shul to daven, but there was a connecting hallway with a dead person. Also, Amrei the Rava. They asked Rav what to do. Amrei Dalu Tevusa, take the aron, Osvua, the Havale Kliates, and put it in the doorway to block up the passage. The Havale Kliates on Atzal Nachas. It's a wooden utensil which is made to rest. It's not Makabal Tuma. It's something big, a big wooden kli that's not meant to move. So therefore, it's not Makabal Tuma, and it divides from Tuma. Amrle Rabban, the Rava, sometimes they move the ark with the Sefer Torah, even though it's a Kli Eitz, if it's sometime moved with something in it and sometimes empty, so that therefore it still is Makabal Tuma. It's not Chotz Tuma, it doesn't separate from the Tuma. So once he knew that, if I know that, so there's no way of getting the Kohanim to daven there. Amar Zutra, Matpachos Svarim Shabalu Osino San Tachrich Lameis Mitzvah. If you have the wrappings of the coverings of the Sefer Torahs that became worn out, you can make them begadim, you can make them tachrichin, you can make clothes, the linens of the Mace Mitzvah that a dead person can wear. V'zu gnizasa, and that's considered geniza. Amarava, Sefer Torah, Shabbalah, Sefer Torah that become worn out, going to the Talmud Chacham. You bury it next to Talmud Chacham. I feel Lashon Allah, even if it's only Talmud Chacham who only learns Mishnah Berurah. It's okay. You still consider Talmud Chacham for this. Amar Vacha Bar Yaakov Gli Cheres. You should put the Sefer Torah in an earthenware vessel. Shnemar V'Nesatam Gli Cheres Aman Yamdu Yam Rabim. It says the Nevi'im that you put in an earthenware kli so that it lasts for a long time. Amar Papa Ishmei the Rav the Rebbe Mibek Nishal Be'Rabbanan Shari. To convert a shul into a base medrash is mutter. Be'Rabbanan the Beit Nishla Asir, but to convert a base medrash to a shul, it's Asir. It's going down Kedusha. Rav Papa Mishmei the Rav Masli Ibcha. Rav Papa, name of Rav. We have Rav Papi and Rav Papa. Rav Papi said it's the opposite, that the shul is more Kedusha. Amar Rav Acha Racha says, top of Zayin and Aleph, Kavasi the Rav Papi Misaber, like the first opinion of Papi, Amishul ben Levi, Beis HaKnesses Mudalas, also Beis HaMedrash. Beis HaKnesses, you can make no Beis Medrash, the opposite not, Shema, Mina, the proof is like that, you can make a shul into a Beis Medrash, you can't make into a shul. Have a good day, a good Shabbos. We'll see you Motzei Shabbos. Bye.